So, Craig, again, we talk about C1. Again, I'll remind people that 6 weeks before she went to the press with allegations against you, she sent a photo of her on a toilet. I just want to sort of ascertain again that you were on good terms with her in regards to at that point, you'd think.
Yeah. Doing a second season of a TV show together, having a laugh. The friendship is good enough for her to joke with me in that way. Some people would find sending a photo of yourself sitting on a dunny with your knickers around your knees not very funny. If you understood the context of the jokes about catering on location, all the rest of it, I wasn't offended by it at the time. But look, I don't know that that's the sort of thing you would do and send to someone who'd allegedly bullied and monstered you.
You discovered some alarming info as the years went by. So let's go back post Rocky Horror Show. The weeks following the end of the tour, yourself and C1, a whole lot of he said, she said. All I know is that I turned up that last day. You had been like a brother to me, as we said all along, and you would barely talk to me. I felt it was all pretty toxic in the end. But the fact people had it in for me, well, I don't understand, and I'm just trying to move on. It's hard. I was warned the whole company was turning on me.
Yeah, she sent that text to me. I mean, I think I spoke earlier about how chaotic those final performance occasions are, how you've got to pack up, get out of your dressing room and all the rest of it. Certainly, and I responded to that text message, of course, but there was certainly nothing that I was aware of. Certainly I wasn't going out of my way on that final night to avoid her and not speak to her. That's just a nonsense. And again, that sort of paranoia, I don't know where that comes from, but it just simply wasn't the case.
So you sorted it and it was all okay in the end?
Oh gosh, well, you know, going right back to 2005 with Greece, she'd always joke that we're like brother and sister, and what she meant was that we were just up for a laugh and we're both naughty together, you know. And she references that in that text, and yeah, I certainly, in fact, I think I said in one of my replies, you know, and it goes back to Greece in 2005. Yeah. Remember, I'm the guy who spoke up not to have her sacked. I always just wanted the best for her. And I said as much in the text message, and it was true.
So you, during the case, you found out that messages had been sent by C1 to her best mates. And then a short time later, she sent another text to a mate saying, he told lies and fucked my reputation. So she was blaming you for not getting work.
Yes.
No mention of assault, any type of assault, bullying, harassment in those?
No.
So I suppose just people that were talking about her and the fact that she wasn't working.
That's right. And, you know, as far as I'm aware, this is a best mate who, you know, she shares everything with. So it was all about not working, auditioning for things and not getting the job, or perhaps being aware of a show where they were holding auditions and her not being invited to audition. That has nothing to do with me, Michael. Listen, in between Dr. Blake, we may have touched on this before, during that Melbourne season, I'm already in pre-production on Dr. Blake. I've set aside time to zip across to England to see my family. The notion that I'm spending whatever little spare time I had, and I didn't have much, ringing around, telling producers and directors or casting agents or agents, don't get her in for auditions, don't give her any work.
Yeah.
I mean, it is nonsensical. And, you know, it's worrying. I don't know why she would believe that to be the case, because it just simply wasn't the case.
Do you feel that that's a motive to try to destroy you down the track?
What, he told lies and fucked my reputation? Any reasonable person would be thinking right now, gosh, that screams motive, doesn't it?
You were unaware of this sentiment. You were only, you were constantly in touch after that, and even went on to shoot the Wrong Girl, where there was countless messages between you two.
Yes, yeah, that's right. We, and I make no secret of it, we had a great time together on the 2 years that we were in production on that show. A great time.
And action.
Selamat pagi. Welcome. Welcome to the Breakfast Bar and happy Sunday, folks. First off the bat this morning, I wanted to address some feedback we received yesterday. Just go back. You can't laugh at Selamat pagi.
Back to ones.
Back to ones.
You shocked me.
I did, didn't I?
I wasn't ready for that.
Selamat pagi.
You say selamat pagi boo and I say selamat pagi pak.
Will you?
I will if you do. It's Globber and Bumpkin. It's Globber and Bumpkin.
And just some of those messages, she asks how you are, sending kisses, goes on, etc., etc. When was the last message you sent to her?
She was about to open in a production. So I'm sending her a funny song, wishing her all the best for opening night. What I'm not doing, to be clear, is getting on the phone to those producers and saying, sack her before it's too late.
In 2017, she was being interviewed by the media. This same stuff came up about her reputation.
And so I didn't take it any further. I felt there was sort of a roadblock, and as I said, I asked for that conversation to be kept confidential, and I know for a fact that it wasn't.
How do you know?
I went away off the show with a back injury, and when I came back, no one would talk to me. I was sort of ostracised from the crew, most of the cast, definitely this stage manager, definitely Craig, saying one thing, and that's why everyone was on such red alert. No one could trust anything, but I guess I thought he would probably have been saying she'll never work again, and that is, to an actor, you work so hard to have a career and to work. It is so hard. So when someone threatens that, whether they have the power or not, it's really damaging, because I'd worked for 10 years at that point, and I thought, this is all over, and I don't even know why.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't really. I think it's funny that he called me a cunt.
So the narrative seems that you tarnished her reputation somehow.
Yes. And, Michael, I remember some mutual friends back in the day saying to me, she thinks you've been saying things behind her back, tarnishing her reputation. And I'm like, well, what sort of things? So this notion that I was this sinister figure thwarting her career, if I can put it in really simplistic language, it's bullshit. It's just not true. And if she'd ever turned to me and said, have you been telling producers they shouldn't employ me or anything else? The answer would have been no. Quite the opposite.
So there's an email you've got your hands on that talks about her behaviour, and this was from management at the Rocky Horror Show.
Yes, that's right. And the email clearly shows that returned to the theatre one night, again having time off because of a sore back, allegedly, and immediately starts slagging off the understudies that are performing, who are on stage. We have monitors in the theatre. Now, there is no evidence that could be presented that ever showed that I was slagging off members of the company, my friend included.
So there was another charge laid against you in relation to C1, a chin grab and face throw, a single charge of common assault. This one seems ridiculous.
You know, no one's face was ever thrown on that stage, ever.
I mean, tell me about that scene.
You know, this is a scene where Frank is saying goodbye, Frankenfurter is saying goodbye to all of his friends on stage. He's about to be beamed back to his home planet or potentially killed. And it's, again, the absurdity of Rocky Horror. And he's going around character by character while singing. I think we may have touched on this before. While singing, it's all to a tempo of a song, and he has a brief moment with all of these characters.
And that night you had a shocker.
Oh, it was just dreadful. You know the old expression, anything that could go wrong went wrong.
Collision?
There was a collision with one of my friends. There'd been a wardrobe malfunction backstage, so the corset's coming apart. They're desperately kind of pinning all that back together. I'm listening to the music, my cue's getting closer and closer. I'm still half a mile from where I re-entered the stage. I seem to remember there was a mic pack issue as well. Anyway, all of those little things that could go wrong were going wrong. I'm also filming a television show by day, so I'm exhausted, beyond exhausted as the leading man who's never missed a show. I'm also up at Sparrows shooting a TV show, coming in, and now everything's going wrong. Go, go! A whack on the bum and I'm running to my position and I collide with one of my girlfriends from the show. And it was a nasty collision. It knocked the wind out of me. It certainly knocked the wind out of my friend.
And your accusers even used this accidental collision with another actor to say that you were a bully and you meant to run into her.
Like, he ran into backstage and had 2 ribs put out. She actually reported it as a workplace safe. Like, we have, workers seeing if you get an injury, you've got to claim it. So, that will be on the record.
Hold on, go back to that. Did he actually cause that?
Yeah, he was throwing a hissy fit. He was angry.
It leaves me completely speechless.
And that night you did speak to the resident director.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that?
Well, the resident director saw the wardrobe, the costume business backstage, so she was well aware that we were dealing with that while waiting for the cue. And then there'd also been an issue with one of the actors who inexplicably completely changed the direction and the plotting for a scene that we do together. So everything he did, without saying anything to the resident director or me, was different. So I was understandably thrown by that, and I said to her, I'd like to have a chat with so-and-so about what the hell that scene was. She'd witnessed that, she'd seen it too. She said, I'll organise that for you.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the show, she said, I'm a bit upset, can you go and talk to her? No mention, Michael, of throwing anyone's face.
Because C1 claimed she told the resident director that you grabbed her face and that she was afraid.
Yeah.
Was there anything in that chat with the resident director regarding that?
Nothing. No mention of throwing anyone's face.
But C1 told media she did actually complain to the director.
Yes. It's interesting though, isn't it, that the resident director she herself had to appear on the stand and was asked if she'd said that to me. And the resident director said, no, I did not. So no, she never said to me anything like that.
And C1 said the next day she had a visit from John Frost, the producer, and told him you were a bully, etc.?
Yes, that's what she alleged. Mr. Frost was called to court. He took the stand and was asked if anything like that had occurred. Any such discussion with that individual? The answer was a resounding no.
But the newspapers ran with that, and C1 had made complaints, but they fell on deaf ears, but she hadn't.
No.
There were other eyewitnesses in court who the police had relied upon to lay charges. There was quite a few, wasn't there?
Yeah, there were.
But they all fell apart at the seams. So again, why didn't the police investigation actually happen before it even got to court? I mean, why wait for these stories to fall over?
That's a great question, Michael. That's a great question, and one we shouldn't even be pondering. Because you're right, it shouldn't have happened like that.
But it's almost like the Victorian Police laid charges without a real investigation, which we have mentioned before. Like they laid charges in the hope that the dirty work in court would do the rest.
It's interesting you say that, because a very learned legal professional who has had a very successful career in Melbourne actually said to Vanessa and I, all those years ago now, that alarmingly, coppers are increasingly happy to just lay charges and let it play out in the courts. Well, no, police work still has to be police work, and it's got to be thorough.
Talk me through the witnesses. Both C1 and C2 were both in constant communication when the allegations were first made. You'd assume they'd have spoken to each other about what they were alleging. C2 gives evidence that she saw this assault. The same description as what C1 had made.
Pretty much, yep.
That really could have put you up shit creek.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Did it worry you at the time?
It worried me insofar as it was another individual essentially saying the same thing. But what's interesting about that C2 is the fact that it was revealed in court that she wasn't on stage that night when this alleged thing, this face throw, was supposed to have taken place. Not on stage. She was off stage, sick, vomiting into a garbage bin way off stage somewhere.
Just unbelievable.
Sorry, I should point out too, that's documented in that thing called the show report that we've discussed before, which is the Bible of all things that happen. Remember I gave the example if Cain came on stage and tripped, it's in. So if Caney's run off stage and he's vomiting and hurling in a garbage bin, guess what? It's in the show report.
And a show report that probably should have been looked at by investigators before it even got to this.
Wouldn't you think?
This is the same accuser who falsely claimed you kissed her friend's vagina in the bed scene and tried to get in the shower with her.
One and the same. So
C2 lied again.
There you are.
It goes further because C1 accused you that when the cast had to clap the band, you were accused by C1 that you aggressively clapped your hands in her face, something that C2 backed up.
Yeah, yeah, and I remind you that C2 wasn't on stage. So I'm laughing, but it's just dreadful, isn't it?
I mean, aggressively clapping.
Look,
And let's point out, you're on stage. I know what an aggressive clap would be, you know, but it would stand out like dog's balls to everyone that there's something amiss or awry here.
look, there was no. I think it was alleged that the cast were directed to enthusiastically applaud the band.
Yeah.
Right? No, we weren't. And the director backed me up on that. We were directed to, as a company, following my lead, to gesture to the band, but this notion of us all applauding the band didn't happen. We live in an era today where anyone could say any kind of clapping is aggressive. You're hitting your hands together. It's preposterous. And you're right, clapping in someone's face, if we're standing a distance apart and you did clap at me like this, well, I'll leave it up to you to determine whether clapping is aggressive in any way.
And then there was the sound technician. Her story fell apart.
The sound technician, my good mate, who for 2 years was telling people if they ever get the chance to work with me on Rocky Horror, they should, because it's the most wonderful experience they could have. Yes, she claimed to have seen this face throw, but it turns out, Michael, that she wasn't on stage at that moment either, of course. So where are you? Well, she was backstage, wasn't she? She was backstage, running around in the wings, monitoring sound equipment, changing people's batteries if need be. She didn't see a thing.
And the ensemble member.
Oh, this is a good one. You know, he went to pains to point out he was really, really close to the action. So when asked what happened, he said that I sort of pinched her cheeks together, and then what happened? Well, he just sort of pinched her cheeks. Yes, and then what happened? We're all expecting some description of a face throw. Think of the terminology, throwing someone's face. Then what happened? He kind of levitated her straight up in the air. I'm a pretty fit guy. And we've joked about having magic to make people hate each other and what have you. But to pinch someone by the cheeks, like, goo, and levitate them, that was eyewitness account.
All this allegedly on stage. Do you find it incredible that 3 of the charges all happened in this scene, the goodbye scene? You were charged with an attempted kiss and 1 second kiss and a face throw. That's one crazy scene.
Crazy scene. And none of it in the show report.
In front of an audience.
Sold out crowd.
And again, you would think that if something like that was happening, the audience would have been aghast.
Oh, my God. Just like dealing with C2 and this tongue kiss nonsense, as a couple of the witnesses said, one in particular who's standing right there, if anything like that were to happen, it would be beyond jarring, it would be shocking, not just to the audience, but to the players on stage.
I just find, just my own, I'm trying to get my head around it, some of these accusations that actually happened on stage in front of an audience. I don't know how they actually thought this could get over the line. If it didn't happen, how can you expect to make an allegation in front of, you know, a lot of people? And more so the fact that charges were laid, getting back to the fact that the police should have done their due diligence of checking, even getting some people that were there that night. Surely that wouldn't have been that hard.
Yeah, I mean, you make really great points, Michael. If you think eyewitness accounts, when none of them match, when it's discovered that two people claiming they saw this didn't, and you factor in that when was asked about the face grab and the subsequent throw, said, well, wasn't so much a grab, it was just he held my chin, you know, like just with a little more pressure. And how long did that last for? Oh, just a second or so. Did it hurt? No. No. And then what happened? Well, he just released it. So it's shocking enough that all of these counter versions from so-called eyewitnesses crop up. Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? But Michael, here's the thing. So, the individual in this instance has said it was just a little bit more pressure than normal, 1 or 2 seconds, and he just released it.
So in the end, C1 gives her evidence and it turns out that there was no pain, just pressure, but you were still charged with assault.
Still charged.
And there was witnesses who the prosecution called who again actually helped your case.
Oh, without question. When none of those eyewitness accounts matched, it's not helping the prosecution, is it?
So the charge gets thrown out and it's a not guilty verdict. There's a pattern that a lot of the charges have the same women being witnesses to the other. It's the same accusers, C1, C2 and C3. That's one hell of a coincidence.
Yeah, look, I'm not a mathematics genius, but what are the odds of that?
So let's go to the magistrate's comments. First of all, surprise, surprise, brave and honest. She ruled you were innocent. She touched on the aspects of unreliability of C2. She spoke of C2 being confused and prone to exaggeration. But what I find incredible, listening to the podcast, the fact that she said, I had no reason to doubt C2's truthfulness, but there was issues of reliability. Her memories of what she observed and was told about of offending against others was confused and sometimes prone to exaggeration. It is clear that on May 9th, she could not have made the observations she described. Possibly she was in the wings, but this is not the evidence she gave. It's almost like she wanted to get on the stand and answer it herself.
Well, imagine someone presiding over any case, imagining an alternate scenario that may have taken place. Well, do you know what I would suggest to Ms. Wallington? Perhaps, you know, looking at a career in writing novels, because Ms. Wallington's never even been backstage of that theatre. She's never been in the wings of that theatre. It's extraordinary, isn't it, to come up with an alternate possible reality.
And as Vanessa points out in the podcast, Not Guilty, EP, since when has it become practice for a ruling officer of the court to offer up some excuses for a complainant who is so obviously misled police and the court? And the same goes for C1. They were so protected.
Well, they most certainly were, and Vanessa has stated it perfectly in a podcast. They're better than my clumsy attempt of expressing my feelings on that alternate reality.
So the one question that Vanessa asked at the end, how could such a close friendship be explained? How is it that now all of the evidence of friendly text messages, etc., doesn't account for much these times? Craig, it seems that everything can be twisted, manipulated as to reasons when they were in contact?
I think we said very early on, Cain, these days, worryingly and regrettably, you can weaponise anything. You can weaponise anything.
So the reasons they offer up years later is that they were afraid of your power.
I'm kind of relieved to hear what it was that was being said, you know, because I've spent so much time wondering what it was. But in now, I know that he didn't have that power to stop me from coming back or to stop me from working again, but at that time.
And so they remained on friendly terms because they had that fear.
My God. Well, let me just say this, and again, without any malice. In terms of their professional lives as performers, as actors, that's their greatest performance because they fooled me and they fooled Vanessa.
So what would your last word be on or C1, knowing that she said he told lies and fucked my reputation?
Well, she told lies and thoroughly fucked mine.